Hello, this is Dale, and on Mondays, I'm joined by Mike Jones.
And on Tuesday, he's joined by the
Mike Jones.
President of the United States. Yes.
Yes, yes, Mike Jones. So,
Yes.
wanted to talk tonight about some things that have been happening, partly part of tonight's show, things that have been happening with the Daily Courier.
Hmm.
So we have one of the people that watches our show called me and said, "You're never going to believe what happened to me," and writing a letter to the editor. Oh boy, you can see it coming. So he had written this letter to the editor that takes the commissioners to task. Well, you've already heard that Kevin Whittison warned one person where they had said you can have an opinion piece that you could write about anything you wanted to, but not anything negative about the commissioners. Really? Well, this fellow had written a couple of negative things about the commissioners, and his letter wasn't running. So he called Kevin Winnis and he says, "Why is my letter not running?" "Well, we've researched it and we found that there are details that we can't confirm." This is now the way
Hmm.
that they deal with letters to the editor.
An opinion? Yes. I thought that was opinion, and I mean, I can't tell you how many times I've read something in there that I knew was factually incorrect.
Well, aren't they going to need to take out most of the letters that are backing the levy? We can't confirm these details. Yeah, well, listen, buddy, Kevin Whittison, we can't confirm some of the details that are on the front page of the Courier.
Yeah. Well.
Really? Now, this is your newspaper, so to speak, in this town. Really? Yeah. That's the Daily Courier. So
Well,
that's
yes, but I mean, to understand this correctly, it's you don't get treated the same at the weekly business session as other people do. There are other people who can get up and say pretty much whatever they want, and no one ever calls them on it because their their bread is buttered on the right side. You know, that's how that works.
or they're all part of the same club. Well,
That's what
here's
I
an
mean.
example of somebody that has gone up squarely against the First Amendment, and so we've posted a video on this, which you can see, and we'll play this in a couple of parts, and we're going to talk about it. So first, it will start out tonight's little clip that we're playing for you starts out with what happened about a week ago with Rika Brown making comments because I had called the commissioners to question. Go figure. And as unusual as that is, Rika Brown didn't like it. So go ahead and play part one of four.
Oops.
Treat you with respect, you have to demand it. If you allow such abuse, it will be copied. It is copied, occasionally. No one does it quite like Mr. Matthews, though. If you don't allow him to speak, if you simply do not recognize him, other people will begin to watch how they speak to you. Thank you.
Nice.
Yeah, so the original version of this started off with how she's been saying this for years. You can see year after year she says, "Look, don't let these people speak, especially Dale Matthews. Just cut them off at the knees, and then everyone else will get this message, this chilling message that you're not going to allow certain people to speak if they question their government."
Mm-hmm.
And she's defining bad speech, or she's defining rude speech as when Cheryl Walker says one thing and then she says another thing, and they're opposed to each other. They can't both possibly be true, although she claimed that they both were, which is really crazy. And so Rika Brown says, "Well, just cut them off, and then you don't need to worry about that anymore."
Right.
Really?
Sure. Solves the
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, it definitely does. See, all you need to do is don't cut off everybody, because that would include Rika, and that she can't talk about raking up leaves or whatever. But if you just cut off, start with Dale Matthews, and Mike Jones will learn a lesson, Sandy Casanelli will learn a lesson, Mark Seligman will learn a lesson, Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger will learn a lesson, Judy Aarons will learn a lesson. All those people that question their government and say, when you made this deal with Mal, Foster, and Alonji to take down the Dimick Tower, why did you tell them that they could pocket all the profits from the recycling? Don't ask those kinds of questions of your government.
You know what? I'd be willing to bet, considering what we've seen recently with this, the Mark Von Holly situation and the like, that no such conversation took place. I just think they go, oh, you're going to recycle it? Oh, okay. Well, then I can wear my recycling pin that I did that, and I can feel good about myself while I'm driving my Prius around. You know, it's stupidity, but this is what, I mean, they don't think, oh, wait a minute, when you recycle this stuff, you get money for it. They're not thinking this stuff. These people are, they're...
Yeah, now I want to make it clear that while, Mike may say, occasionally I may say something like, well, gee, that's kind of stupid. I never do that at the podium. I always wear a tie. I'm always respectful of the office, if not the office holders. And I never said, well, here's another stupid thing that I don't talk that way. And unlike what Dennis Weber was telling people from his pulpit at the church, there are not people that are yelling out obscenities, and there are not people that are running around yelling, woot, woot. This does not happen at these meetings. Okay, the closest that we get is Keith Hack. Right. So, now here's part two.
That is true.
Here's part two. Now, this is Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger, and she's saying, well, gee, this doesn't seem very American to me, and I follow that. Where Keith has an interesting thing to say. Apparently, a new rule that he's made up. You remember all the new rules under Cheryl Walker? Well, the new rule is if he looks over in your direction and you don't immediately respond, then you lose your chance to speak that day. What? Well, what if you don't want to go first? Because he looked over near me first. I didn't hold up my hand first. Other people had things to say. I thought I'd go ahead and let them. Also, I try to go along with the theme. If they're mostly talking about the animal shelter, I'm going to wait and talking about misappropriations of money. This is the real reason they have to stop us. Well, you'll see. Well, you've lost your chance. I've lost my chance? What are you talking about? See, I couldn't help it that time. But go ahead and play Vivian, followed by me. Thank you, Mike.
I have a question about something that I had heard another member of our community say, that if you didn't allow people who had questionably nice things to say, that you would just ignore them and not allow them to speak, and that would teach the rest of us to give them more respect. Well, I would say that that would be wrong in another different kind of an America with spelled with a K, and that person knows who she is. And I think that would be just really wrong for our board not to let everyone speak, even if you don't agree with what they have to say. Now, we've not done that yet, and I appreciate that. So I just don't want to take bad advice from someone who doesn't understand what America is about, apparently.
But we start over here at the end of the so it's Mr. Chance today.
No, what do you mean I've missed my chance? What are you talking about? I've missed my chance?
Now take a look at these guys.
Yeah, Larry looks especially pleased there.
Sorry, that little bit of Monday at the bottom is cutting off his face. But yes, yeah, that was Bill Ertel and Andreas Bleck and Larry West, and they didn't look very upset about Keith's new rule that if you don't respond immediately, what? If you don't respond immediately, then you lose your chance for a week.
Yeah, but okay, but that's because they know that this rule does not apply to them. This rule applies to you.
Yes.
It doesn't apply to them. They could wait around and wait around and wait around and see. It could circle the room 3 times and pass them up, and they could hold their hand up at the very end, and they would let them come up. But because these are the sycophants, these are the people that come up and say, no matter what has transpired, you guys are doing a wonderful job. We love everything you do. I give you 5 stars.
Bill Urtel used to be a big wheel in the Republican Party. Andreas Bleck is the guy that built this rock-crushing thing that's going to happen out in Sunny Valley that's going to last for 30 years, and the people out there are pretty upset about it. And Larry West, the best way to characterize Larry West, in my opinion, is he wrote a letter to the editor, and they printed this one, and it said that the Courier is, I'm paraphrasing here, the best newspaper in the world.
Ooh, yes.
The very best newspaper in the whole wide world.
Well, I'm not surprised. This is the kind of stuff that comes out of these people, and how coincidental it is that this one guy probably needed approval of the commissioners to get his rock crushing operation underway. I have nothing against crushing rocks, by the way, and I usually have a big issue with my neighbors trying to jump in on and stop me from doing something, because it usually is, well, I don't know. I won't get into that, but I'm assuming that there's a reason why he's kissing so closely.
Well, these are the little things that you don't hear, and they are clues to people's personality, like Larry West writing the letter saying the Courier is the best newspaper ever. So I'm waiting outside for one of these meetings. I'm waiting to get into the little back room, and I'm joined by somebody I don't know. It's Andreas Blech. And I've heard some things from people out in Sunny Valley that are not very happy with the amount of traffic and all for 30 years, and they'll be dead and gone by the time this project is over. And we talk a little bit, and how'd you get started in this, and talking back and forth. And at one point I mentioned, by the way, when we go in, I've actually got a little chair that I usually sit in, so we're always at the same angle, so that people, when they look at this, it's the commissioners, and it's always from the same view. And I sit over on the side, so I'm out of anybody's way, and I put up the tripod so no one's going to trip over it and burst into flames. And that's a tribute to Cheryl Walker. And he said, "Oh, okay." So when the door opens and they're going to let us in, he pushes by me. I mean, he literally pushes me out of the way. Oh, this guy's really anxious to get in there. And he runs up and plops down in the chair I just told him about. Oh, look, now the chair doesn't have my name on it, but come on. I've been sitting there for a decade. It's not like I have to. It's just that I'm out of the way. Like I said, the tripod is over on the side. It's not in with the regular audience. I don't have to look over anybody or around anybody. I'm not in front of anybody. I'm way over on the side where I'm out of everybody's way. I'm just always in the commissioner's way, right? Okay, because that's another kind of way. Anyway, he decides to sit there. And then he looks around triumphantly and he says to the commissioners, "Well, it's first come, first serve, isn't it?" And they're all too happy. "Oh, yeah, oh, definitely. Please do it every day, So I just left. I mean, okay, so we miss a day. I don't want to sound petty. Also, what a stupid thing to do, really. I mean, that is small and petty, and I didn't want to join him in that kind of pettiness. That says a lot to me about Andreas Bleck and his personality. Really? Oh, it's first come first, isn't it? And they're like, well, yeah. This reminds me of Dave Toller. I'd be sitting there with the camera, and Dave Toller would encourage people to stand in front of the camera. You can stand in front of that camera if you want to. There's like 2 of us in the room. Well, nobody ever did it except for the treasurer, who delighted in doing it. What are you going to do about it? Like, really? Really? But yeah, Dave Toller would say, yeah, you can get right in front of that camera, and that's perfectly okay. Dave, what are you doing? Really? So, anyway, that was Dave Toller. This is Andreas Bleck. Go ahead.
Ricky Brown, 1415 Southwest Bridge Street, Grants Pass. I was called out earlier, I believe, regarding my request that the rules on the wall be enforced. Everyone means you have to enforce them, but just refuse to recognize people who break them. Likewise, our city has landscape maintenance codes,
What?
which have not been enforced.
Look at Larry West. He's like, oh, not that.
For decades. The landscape bubble has a lot to do with that. People who are bakers and
Bakers or beggars?
took over our local government for decades because they had the money.
Last chance.
My hand is up.
I realize others are called.
Thank you.
Oh, there never was a problem. What's the matter with you, Mr. Matthews? Now, Rika's big deal is you must always look at the
community. When I was a substitute teacher at Grants Pass High School, and we had a team of students that went out and did a little documentary about the football players who were throwing food at the mentally challenged students. You're not looking at me. Why am I supposed to look at you when you don't look at me? Right.
I never asked you to look at me.
Yes.
I'm trying to type and record for whatever purpose.
Okay, I wasn't asking. So,
Oh, that's rude. That's so
Whoa.
rude.
The thing is, they always insist that we look at them. This, I wasn't asking you to look at me, is simply not true. They always say that. And my standard response is, why do you demand that we look at you when none of you look at us?
Yeah. Yeah, it's a weird, and they don't do that to everybody.
No.
But they when they know that they're going to hear something that they don't really want to hear, then they all look down at the desk, and usually Cheryl Walker has a pen in her hand, and she's
Scribbling, 100
writing
miles an
something
hour.
down
I
very
know what she's
quickly.
writing down. I hate you, I hate you, I hate you, I hate you.
Or yeah, I don't know. I would like to see what she's writing down, but it's they do this thing where, well, if I don't see this person, I don't have to recognize what they're saying.
And the other thing is, Keith Hick, I don't even know if he knows he does this, but you'll get started on something, and just when you're starting to make a point, you'll say, your shoe is untied, or can you pull that microphone closer to you, or repeat your name for us, would you, Dale Matthews, or whatever he feels like saying. And so here he is, he's trying to kind of, I'm writing down, I'm typing everything you say. No, you're not. Just don't lie to me. And that's why I said, I'm really not asking for your comments. This is my 3 minutes. No, it's not your 3 minutes. It's not your. Stop thinking it's your 3 minutes. What? Just shut up and let somebody talk for 3 minutes, no matter what they want to talk about. If I want to talk about chemtrails, what difference does it make to you?
Listen. They would be very, very happy if you began talking about chemtrails, because it would be like Rika coming up talking about leaves. They're so happy when she comes up and just talks about leaves or whatever. She gets to say whatever she wants to say, and she usually has the same thing. It's either about picking up garbage or, leaves or, compost or whatever it is that she's talking about. But it's they would be very happy if you started talking about that kind of stuff.
Well, though Rika definitely wants to cut off free speech for some people, and especially for me, I'm always delighted. I'm delighted. We give Rika all the time she wants, and from this final clip, you'll see why I'm delighted when Rika speaks. Go ahead.
Well, yes, I'm surprised that they keep recognizing him and letting him speak at all.
And why is that?
Because he's so unnecessarily evil in his speech. But that might be their point in recognizing him.
So evil. Gee, I was watching that. I didn't hear evil speech at all.
Well, it's what accumulates over time, and they know what to expect next. That's the problem.
Okay, so in other words, when someone calls you slimy bastard or you're lying maggot,
that's after a lot of attacking of that person.
Oh, so he did it first, right?
Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Appreciate your opinion there, Rika. Thanks for that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's Rika Brown on the Bill Meyer Show.
You're cumulatively evil, and that's after a long time. They're so long suffering with you. They put up with all of your BS, and then only when the back of the camel has been broken by the final matchstick do they come unglued
and then call me names.
Yes,
at
call
an
you
open
names.
public meeting, and then accuse everybody else of using expletives deleted. Yeah, right. Come on. And the only reason any of this happens is they'll sit down with Mark Von Holly. What a revelation it was to see that negotiation. And the thing is that now you've got an idea of how we're ending up with these problems with the unions, because they're going to, they're negotiating with the unions in exactly the same way. And Keith Hick is, well, I don't know, and Simon, well, this is the worst possible. Shouldn't this be an executive? Of course. Because they don't want you to see that Simon looks up and suddenly realizes, oh, yeah, Dale's there with the camera. We're doing all this on camera. Yeah,
Yes.
buddy.
Well, and I suspect that the union negotiations are no more full of no's than the weekly business session is when it comes to spending more money. I think these people, they feel that they're negotiating with kindred spirits there, and so hey, the sky's the limit. Let's the only thing that we're have to discuss back and forth with is what can we get away with for you guys without looking like we're giving away the store here.
This is why Sandy Casanelli had to be painted as Casanoli. This is why she had to be painted as a complete idiot that didn't know what she was doing, although she was almost all the time the only one who had read the documents. Because as a sitting commissioner, they would not allow her just to sit quietly and watch a union negotiations. They wouldn't allow her to do it as a commissioner because they knew what would come of that if anyone ever got a hint about how they deal with the unions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that unions are the most evil thing on the world, but you do now, you have had a chance, multiple chances. We put up a 40-minute video, and then we put up 6 other little videos for those of you who don't want to sit and watch 40 minutes. Hey, why are you watching this show? Because we're always a little around 40. Never mind. Okay, you don't have to be consistent. Only we do. Mike, be consistent, would you?
We're not consistent. I think this show's probably started out around 10 minutes, and then for a while there we were consistently around 25 minutes, and now we're all the way up to like 45 minutes at the outside. And who knows? This in a couple of months, this might be a 2-hour show, folks.
Oh, so come on now! No, I get people to say to me all the time, Dale, you're so different. I'm sorry, I'll try to be the same from now on.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So that's the Rika Brown Show. It's always, this is why badcounty.com has turned into a comedy show. Okay, and the commissioners are hopping mad all the time. What can they possibly do? And it came very close. Oh, he wasn't going to call on me because I didn't hold up my hand immediately. This is a new rule. Don't you know the new rule? You have milliseconds to hold up your hand or you lose your chance. This is why I lost my cool. I usually don't. This is why I lost my cool a little bit. What do you mean I've lost my chance? Where did this come from? It's a new rule.
But it coincidentally came right after Rika had gotten up and said that I think he was maybe feeling some performance pressure that he needed to, test the water and check out Rika's theory there.
It was a week after she had said that, and did you notice who was the one he chose instead of me? It was Rika.
Oh, I didn't. I don't remember.
Yeah, yeah, it went straight into Rika. And then she says, "Well, I was called out." Yeah, she was called out by Vivian Kirkpatrick Pilger, who had said straight out, she didn't mention her by name, but she did say,
Yes.
you're somebody that lives in America spelled with a
I
K.
listen. I would have said, for
Yeah,
crying
you
out
would
loud,
have. That's right. We
Vivian.
name names.
Vivian, just name names for crying out loud.
Right,
And
right.
we know who you're talking about. She knows who you're talking about. You might as well just go ahead and say it.
Well, whenever they talk about something like respect for the public, I have no problem mentioning Larry Graves. Larry Graves, who the guy comes to him and he says, I've got a problem with this contract. I haven't signed it because it says that I've got this amount of space, but actually I've got this smaller amount of space. It was like the equivalent of saying that you've got a 3-bedroom apartment when you've only got 2. And he said, I don't really want to spend the extra because your numbers here are all wrong. And Larry thought about this for a couple of seconds and then lit into the guy, F you and you're effing me and I'm going to F you. Hey! And he didn't say F. And so the idea that there should be decorum and we should treat our public servants in a certain way and everyone's very respectful is bogus.
Yeah.
It's just not true. So I
Well,
mentioned
yeah. I mean,
names.
it's not true that people are disrespectful of them generally. I mean, I have gotten up and had disagreements with things that they have said or things that are in the works to be done, but I'm never disrespectful.
No, I
So
don't get up and say, you're fat, you're blonde, you haven't shaved. I don't do that.
okay, yeah, I was going to make a bad joke, but that was
Yeah.
yeah, I'll just stay away from that. I'll try to remain respectful.
Yes. But I
Yeah.
always go,
So
I wear a tie. Always wear a tie. It's respect for the office, if not for the people. And it has not always been the case where we've ended up with 3 lemons. There's just not always been that case. And that won't last forever. All we have to do is stick it out for a little bit longer and we'll be rid of 2 of them. Okay. Why they jumped over Simon Hare after all the things he said and done, I don't know. I think it should have stopped right at the point at which we discovered that he was keeping stolen signs and knew it was stolen property, and he was hiding stolen property, Simon Hare, in his campaign headquarters. It should have been all over then, but apparently that's not enough for some people. They say, oh no, boys will be boys. Really? Yeah, okay.
apparently,
We're going to talk at some point, maybe not today, about, well, let's kick the ball off. We'll start it off this way.
okay.
What would you do, Mike? What would be a couple of the first things you would do if all of a sudden tomorrow something happens with the 3 commissioners? I'm not going to guess what it could possibly be, unless they were in the courthouse and there was an earthquake. Yeah, buddy. And suddenly you were commissioner. What's
Number one, I think I'm quite a ways down in the line of succession from being instantly the commissioner if something happened to them. But
oh, come on now, with our new governor and her orientation, she might pick a person such as you. So yeah,
I don't think so. I don't think so.
Come on,
but,
no, what do you think I'm talking
let's say for the sake of this scenario, well, I'll tell you, I think as little as possible.
No, now you're sounding like Keith Heck. What do you mean as little?
Well, no, not in that way. No, the thing that I think happens with these people is they're trying to do a bunch of stuff for their own acclaim, and they end up bungling half of it or more. And I think that, number one, I would start saying no. I mean, we've been pummeled. We get flogged with this idea that we're out of money, that we're in dire straits, that we're hanging by our fingernails. There's a million different, analogies here. But They never say no to a new expense. They never say no to somebody getting a raise. They never say no to some expensive piece of equipment that they need, or some little project that they need to do,
Yeah,
or a
yeah,
piece of software.
then we lose this public access television equipment that cost a lot of money, and
Mhm.
nobody's interested in asking where it went.
Right. Well, and of course, those would be some questions that need to be answered. But we were talking about what I would do.
What would you do? First, you would
If
not
I
do anything. Okay.
Well, yes, I would not do anything. I'd put my feet up on the desk and feel what it's like to be a fat cat, and then I would start telling you to stop being disrespectful. No, no. I would listen.
Hey, we can always put you on mute.
I would actually try to find places to cut, because clearly these people, there's a disconnect here. Either we're out of money or we're not. And if we are, let's start acting like we are, and let's start, instead of, you'd have to talk to these people and go, listen, I'm sorry, I can't give you a raise because we don't have money for that. We are out of money. We are hanging by our fingernails. And if that is true, then there are certain things that need to be done. Let's start saving money in this place. You know damn well that throughout the halls of even our small local government, there is waste going on.
Well, like
And
the former treasurer said, he said, yes, I could cut a couple of people, but I'm not going to cut people when nobody else is cutting people.
Well, that's a lame excuse. If you can cut people, then you should cut people. And instead of paying you based on how many people you're supervising, how about if we pay you on what kind of job you're doing for this county? Are you saving us some money? I doubt it very seriously that that's even anywhere near the top of your priority list.
It's the first thing that Cheryl Walker said when our ever so helpful so-called journalist from KJO asked her, this new software that you gotten already have, which they don't, that's going to save us money, right? Nice leading question there, Chuck Benson. Oh, yes, it will. No, it won't. There isn't any software.
I wonder how friendly Chuck would be to saving money if it started, cutting some of his friends from the jobs that they have, or cutting back on their salaries or something like that. That's the kind of thing that happens when businesses are going broke, when businesses are in dire straits and in need of better economic management. They start finding where they can pull things back. Stop hiring so many people. Stop giving raises to everybody. Listen, you know what? If we are in a tight space here, people don't expect to have a raise given to them every single year or every couple of years or whatever, or they wouldn't even expect a raise during times when things are not going well for the county. So I would say no.
Well, one of the first things that this J.J. Schofield did is, and wouldn't you think now, okay, it's the new HR director, human resources. He would go through and try to find out, sorry guys, where some of the fat is, if there's any fat at all, and that he would try to suggest that maybe this person could do a little more work or they can do a little consolidation here. This is the opposite of what JJ has been doing. He's been going through and trying to find out where people are underpaid in relationship to like Lane County. Really?
Yes.
I'm not kidding you. This is what he does.
Right, and that doesn't fit. That doesn't fit with what is supposedly going on here.
Now, don't forget what happened with the elected officials compensation committee. They had been told for years, and every year I would go to this meeting and I would say, yes, Dale Matthews. I say, wouldn't it be better for comparator counties, the counties with whom we compare? With whom we compare. Isn't that beautiful English? Okay, so I got some education somewhere. It was California, sorry, Oregon. So and wouldn't it be better if we compared apples with apples, as they're always trying to say, and that we compare to counties that have similar fiscal situations? Oh, no, 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 we can't do that. We have to compare with counties. As an example, Beverly Hills. Yes, I know Beverly Hills is a city and not a county, but we have almost exactly, down to like 5 people, the same population as Beverly Hills. Well, if you were going to compare us only by population, can you imagine what these salaried people would be making? Okay, so here's the thing.
Yeah.
Why are we comparing by salaries? Because the people on that committee, the original people on the committee, were all people who were paid the same way. And they were called in from the city or from this or from that, and they didn't want to blow the whistle on the whole deal. So every year I would say, well, what am I? And there'd usually be one person, yeah, that's a pretty good point. Oh, we can't possibly do that. No, why can't we do that? State law. And I'd be back there, ask them the state law, ask them which state law, ask them where the state law is. They never ask them. Oh, well, okay. So finally, even after all of that, you had to wear hip waders. The level of the stuff in the room was so deep.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the entire committee quit. This newest entire committee, they all quit. They quit in protest about the way that these comparator counties were picked. They finally saw the light and they all quit, except this symbolic gesture means absolutely nothing if the Courier refuses to print. That's why they quit. So they quit, and they're my heroes. But nobody knows about it except for you watching this show, because the Courier would not print that story.
Well, and so why would they not consider that to be news? I mean, that's the oddest thing to me. Well, okay, so I want to, get a little bit more nitpicky, because I reject the idea of going to a comparator county. Let's find what the free market pays for this kind of thing. Now, I know, I'm a radical. Let's go with the free market. The free market doesn't pay nowhere near. I don't care what brainwashing you have received from your public servants. They make a hell of a lot more than people in the private sector do. That's who I would compare with. But you know what? See, if you think they got Sandy out of there on a rail, they would put me on a rocket sled, because this would be an issue for me, and then of course it would immediately be an issue for them. I think the problem with union negotiations is union negotiations for salaries, when you're negotiating with a public employee, is kind of like negotiating with yourself or your best friend, and probably the criteria for getting more money is that bar is a little bit lower than it would be if you were negotiating with your boss at the business that you work.
I ran into a big thing with this guy, Rob Brandis, and that before we went down to
a long name,
investigate what they were doing with these vehicles that he controls, his crew was changing the license plates. So we expected to go see a blue Ford pickup, and we're looking at some gray, a Jeep. Now, why? Ask yourself, why would they change the license plates?
You do have to ask yourself why, and the only answer that you can ever come up with after that is corruption.
Well, okay, so the reason I brought it up, besides that, is Rob Brandis got all over me the last time I mentioned it. If you ever say that again, why, I'll sue you. And I'd love to see that go to trial.
Yeah.
Really, because we are the only ones with the videotape of him admitted that he did it. Now, and he's real tight in with the other officials, the department heads and the union guys, and he's involved in all these things. And It's all a pretty close connection. And right afterwards, the commissioners are saying, well, you should never speak to a department head unless you go through us. Yeah, they want insulation. They used to make public appearances where people could ask them questions. After somebody started asking them questions, who was that? They didn't want to do that anymore because they were being asked questions like, what happened to that money? Well, okay, this session is over. Thank you very much, everyone. Hopefully in the future we won't have to deal with questions like yours ever again. Who was it that was asking them those questions? Boy, that's just so rude to ask questions. You know, to put in forms asking for information, that's intimidation. Are they afraid of us?
Yes. Well, I think they're afraid of accountability. They don't like to have transparency. You know, I heard somebody say that lack of transparency is a huge political advantage. Yes.